The Transformation Motivation is a weekly podcast featuring people that have made extraordinary transformations within their health and fitness journey, and maybe even their life. The podcast is an opportunity for real-life transformation stories to discuss their story for others to relate to. Too many times, there are people with these social media transformation stories that have doctored up photos, so we want to highlight real people with real stories people can relate to. We'll get insider strategies, tips, step-by-step of how they did it, and challenges they faced along the way. Now, get ready for the Transformation Motivation Podcast.
What's up, party people? This is Emmett, and I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Transformation Motivation Podcast. And this is an awesome podcast, the best podcast. I'm just going to be biased and say that. Because we bring social media success stories in the fitness world, that have people that have achieved great success within their fitness journey. I'm bringing them onto the show, and I'm letting them unveil their story and talk about like strategies, tips, things that they are doing, things that they have done, things that they've learned, and just to help you out on your journey, and also to help you through some of your roadblocks. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming Miss Shrinking Shantel onto the show, all the way from Idaho. I think they do potatoes there. I don't know. So welcome, Shantel. What's up?
Hey, how are you?
Fantastic.
Good to hear.
So Shantel, let's go ahead and get right into all the fun stuff. Let's get a little background on you. I see your Instagram name is Shrinking Shantel. So I was like, I have to have this person on the show.
Yeah. I thought that my name was kind of fitting for what I was trying to accomplish. So
tell us a little bit about, you said what you're trying to accomplish. So tell us about a little bit about yourself, your background, where you're from, and the whole shrinking thing. Like, get us up to speed on all that.
Yeah. So my name is Shantel, and I am born and raised in a small town in Idaho. I grew up here, and I moved away for 5 years, and I moved to Las Vegas, and I was going to school there. Yeah. So while I was living in Las Vegas, I was actually traveling back to Idaho, and I was in a horrible car accident.
Gotcha.
And that's, really where my story begins, is right there.
Okay.
Yeah. So I grew up, and I wasn't really ever, overweight. I wasn't skinny by any means, but I wasn't, super heavy or obese, I would say.
Uh-huh.
I was just, a normal kid. So when I was in this car accident, I actually broke my neck, and
wow,
I broke my neck in 2 places. So I had what's called a hangman's fracture, where typically it cuts off your breathing. And then I broke my C4 and dislocated it. So
I'm surprised that you're able to walk right now, right?
Yeah. Yes, it's a miracle, honestly. That story is kind of a long story, but I actually had a stroke as well during that accident, because I dissected my vertebral artery, which is an artery that brings blood to your brain.
Wow, yeah, absolutely.
So,
that is crazy. So did you lose any of the brain cells? Did any of that die off during the stroke?
No, so I'm actually very lucky. I just lost movement to my left-hand side. Gotcha. And so I was actually in the ICU for approximately about a month. Wow. And they were telling me every day, like, hey, we're going to do surgery on your neck so you can't eat. So like the entire time I was in the hospital, they were like starving me. And I was like in the ICU, so I couldn't move from like a laying position. I was basically laying down the entire time. And wow. They're just like feeding me through like a PICC line or something. Uh-huh. So yeah, they ended up not doing surgery because my doctors felt like it was just too risky. So they just kind of let my neck heal on its own. So my C4 is still dislocated, and I just kind of healed on my own. And
Here's the deal. I'm sorry to cut you off right there.
no, that's okay.
I thought I saw pictures of you working out.
Yes, I do work out. Yes. So this accident was about 7 years ago.
Sure.
So they figured out a plan for me to get movement back into my left side. And it was a struggle, I'll tell you. It was a really big struggle. Throughout about a year, I didn't change my eating habits, and I still chose to eat the worst kind of foods out there. Fast food every day. And I gained about 100 pounds in a little bit under a year, I would say.
Now, where were you at before you gained the weight? Like, give us your stats. How tall are you, and how much did you weigh at that time?
So I am 5'5", and I probably weighed about like 185 at that time. So, yeah, I gained a little bit over 100 pounds, and I didn't change my eating habits. And, I really contribute my weight gain to that, just not being active like I used to be, and yeah, not changing things. So I then had a child and gained a little bit more weight.
Sure. So now, give me the numbers now. So we went from 185 to 285.
Yes. And then I had my child, I was at 311 pounds. And that is my highest recorded weight.
Got it. And it's funny. We talk about weight during this podcast, but there's usually some other things that are attached to it. Now, along the time that you gained that 100 pounds, was part of it maybe depression, or part of it, like, give me some of the emotions and things that you dealt with during that time? Because I think it's important that people understand, like, sometimes food can be comfort, a shelter. Yeah. So talk to us about that.
Yeah. So I would definitely contribute some of my weight gain to depression. I wasn't able to do the things that I wanted to do. I mean, I was stuck in a bed after the surgery, and I just wasn't able to be active. And I really leaned towards food to, I guess, help comfort me.
Yeah.
So, it was a huge comfort for me. And I still find myself trying to lean more towards food for comfort. And you just have to stop those mental games that your mind plays with you.
And so what do you do typically whenever you are having maybe a stressful day? Because I know for me, for example, I'm just going to speak from our perspective. When I've had a rough day, sometimes I want protein pancakes.
Yeah.
Which might not sound bad, but I may add a little extra peanut butter. I may add some ingredients, maybe an actual pancake mix. I usually don't use pancake mix, but I might add some extra pancake mix. And that's, to help ease my mind just a little bit. So talk to me, how do you normally deal with I guess not relying on food?
Yeah. So I work out a lot when I'm feeling like that. I just go straight to the gym, and that's really how I cope with it.
Okay.
I use working out as a tool for sure. If I still am thinking about food and thinking about something I want, I'll make a healthy version. An example is cheesecake. I love cheesecake.
Me too. You got to send the recipe. You have to send the recipe.
So I actually follow a ketogenic diet.
Okay.
So I found a ketogenic, I guess made a ketogenic diet friendly cheesecake.
Okay.
So, and it makes me, feel like I'm having that little cheat, but I'm not.
Sure. Absolutely. That's cool. That's awesome. All right. Yeah. So coping is more so just you getting in the gym, working it out. And if you can't get it done with the workout, then it's let's find a healthier version of that specific food item.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is great. I recommend a lot of my clients to use their workouts as therapy sometimes, because that's what it can be.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's a therapy for me. I know that for sure.
Now, so you got up to heaviest was 311,
Yes.
and that was after you had your kid.
Yeah.
Um, Walk us through that, or take us from that point. What decisions had to be made?
So I stayed about 311 pounds. And, honestly, I didn't weigh myself during that time of my son being born to about a year, him becoming a year old.
Hmm.
I didn't really weigh myself, so I don't really know what my truest high weight was, I guess you could say. I'm sure I gained a little bit. I'm sure, I dieted. I tried to get weight off after I had my son, and I tried everything under the sun. I did every diet that I could think of, and nothing was working for me.
Gotcha.
And you know, now that I'm, lost the weight, my problem was that I had a diet mindset, and I needed to get rid of that diet mindset.
Wow, that's powerful right there.
Yeah,
Diet mindset. Like
yeah,
expound on that just a little bit. Diet mindset. What does that
yeah.
mean?
So I was thinking of it as a short-term thing. I'm going to eat like this until I lose the weight, and then I can go back to, the way I was eating before. So I would lose some weight and then gain it back plus a little. So I was just thinking about being healthy in the wrong way. Now that I've lost the weight, it's a lifestyle for me. I never plan on going back to eating the way I was. It's okay to have a treat here and there, but it has to be balanced.
Sure, sure, totally. I love it. I love it instead of a short-term fix because a short-term fix leads to going on when you go on a diet. It's always leading to you like it always opens the floor up for you to go off of the diet too. Um,
Exactly.
you go on,
Exactly.
then you go off of it. So
Yeah.
um,
A huge deal for me was actually finding an eating plan that I could do long term,
sure.
because these things that I were doing that had like the prepackaged meals, they just weren't working for me long term. I mean, I needed something that could last forever.
Sure, sure, and that's important too. Something that's sustainable for you, because a lot of times if it's not sustainable, that you might get discouraged. And I get a lot of clients that if they can't, if it's not feasible for them to do within their lifestyle, within their day or long term, then they're like, I can't do it. There's a
Yeah,
different discouragement, and there's a huge mountain to climb, a
definitely.
huge barrier, a huge wall. So you found it at this point. You're three something, and you found a plan, a healthy eating plan, is like what I like to call it, that you could stick with long term. Walk us through those steps. Now, do you start off with just meal prep, or is it just strictly keto? Like, how does that look?
So I actually do need to mention that in order for me to get to this place, I did need some outside help.
Okay.
So I decided to have VSG, which is vertical sleeve gastrectomy.
Okay.
And so that is where they cut your stomach and make it smaller. So this was really helpful for me because I needed that help to get my mind to where it needed to be. And I
Sure.
needed to manage my food addiction because I definitely had one.
Gotcha.
So I had VSG, and
Mhm.
I realized that my old eating habits were not going to help me get to my goals, and I needed to find something quick to get me to my goals. And so about 2 months post-op, I chose to have to follow a ketogenic diet and see how it went. And it has just gone really great for me.
Okay.
Um, I have been on it for 2 years now, and I really contribute a lot of my success to that.
Gotcha. Now after you've had the VSG, the surgery, and they've uh, you go through that whole process. Walk us through. Is there I guess a group meeting that you guys go to after post surgery, or is there anything that you do pre surgery?
Yeah, so you do have to get like qualified to have it. So you have to go to meetings and really understand what it's going to be like. But to be honest, you don't really get it until you've had the surgery and you're like, oh man, this is what I'm dealing with. Like, this is what's going on.
That's like when
So
you watch the movies in class about having babies, and it's like,
yeah,
oh, that's what having a baby's about. Then you actually have when you're like, whoa, okay, well,
yeah,
this is
it's
what
not
having
as
a
easy as it sounds for sure. Um, I mean, you're basically not able to eat very much. You're eating very little in the beginning. And, in the beginning, you do lose a lot from that, but that doesn't last forever. And you really do need to have a healthy eating plan, because I've seen so many people who have had the surgery
Yeah.
that have gained everything back. And I'm actually helping a few people who are in that situation get
Sure.
back on track.
Now, like help us out with that initial, because I've talked to several people that have had the surgery, and they tell me different things about the process, because I guess it's different depending on what system you go through, what hospital system or whoever you go through. But initially, you have to be pre-qualified. They have to make sure that you are sane.
Yes. Yes. Yep. And a lot of it has to do with your insurance. So
Okay.
I know a lot of people who have gone to Mexico. I actually did mine in Boise, Idaho.
Uh-huh.
My insurance covered it. So a lot of times when people have insurance that covers it, it takes them about 6 months to even be like, I guess, qualified to do it, because they have to go through a diet beforehand.
Gotcha.
My insurance didn't require that. It took me about a month to get qualified. I had to do an upper GI to make sure that everything was working inside, and then I went through a psychiatrist to make sure that I was mentally able to
Sane.
handle it.
Yeah. Because that's a big thing.
Yeah,
Because a lot of times people use surgery as like a Band-Aid sometimes
yeah,
on a wound that needs to be covered by like them actually sitting
yeah,
with someone and actually speaking to someone about food addictions,
yeah,
or maybe a traumatic life experience that they're using food to kind of shelter that, all those emotions and those feelings from that traumatic life experience.
definitely.
And I'm so glad that they go through those evaluations. Of
Yeah.
course, some people slip through the cracks, but
Well, I think that the problem when people aren't successful with it is that they're just looking for it. They're not actually wanting to change their habits. They're not actually wanting to change anything. They're just wanting, it to be easy. And in the beginning, I'll be honest, it was easy for me to lose weight.
Mhm.
But once I was about 8 months out, I stopped losing weight, I I wasn't tracking what I was doing. I was still following a ketogenic diet, but I wasn't tracking my calories like I should. And I stopped losing, and I I was like, I need to rein this in. I need to really, pay attention to what I'm eating and track my calories, because at the end of the day, to lose weight, you have to be in that calorie deficit.
Got you, got you. Um, that's well, and that's awesome. That brings up a great point, because there's so many people that have the surgery and they actually reverse the effects of it by gaining weight and actually getting larger,
Yes, definitely.
by not addressing the issues and everything. So let's keep going with the timeline. So you've had the surgery, you've lost, I don't know in how many months you've lost how many pounds, I guess. Walk us through how many pounds you lost within that period, and where did you reach a plateau possibly? I know
Okay.
that's coming, right? Is the plateau
Yeah, it is coming for
coming?
sure.
Okay.
So, I stalled throughout the whole thing, but the first week that I had surgery, I lost 20 pounds, and I was like, oh man, this is so great. This is really getting me off in the right track. And I continued to lose. It started to get slower and slower and slower. I just wasn't really paying super close attention to what I was eating. So when I was about, like I said, 8 months post-op, it really started to plateau, and I wasn't losing as quickly. Um, so I really reined in what I did. I was probably at 200 pounds,
Okay.
and I really reined in what I did, and I, lost an additional a little bit, and then I kind of let old habits I guess, die hard, and they came back, and I, just wasn't paying attention. I was eating out. I was sitting at like 168, which wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I was happy there, but I wasn't at my goal yet, and I wanted to hit my goal. So in February, and I had been at 168 for about 6 months, I'd say.
Okay.
So I was maintaining my weight, but I wasn't where I wanted to be. So in February of this year, I decided to get back in the gym and to really focus in on what I'm eating and pay super close attention to that and get to my goal weight, which is 155, which doesn't seem like a lot, 18 pounds or however many pounds it was, 11 pounds, but it was hard work. It took me a few months to get there. And, now I'm sitting at 152 pounds and I'm still losing. So I'm still working towards goals.
Okay, that's awesome. And I commend you for getting back in the gym or getting in the gym and getting it done. Because I know that's a hurdle sometimes for folks is getting over the facade of what's possibly in the gym. You know, the people watching you that are really not watching you.
Yeah, that was for sure a struggle for me. And I was working out a little bit before, but not like what I have been.
Okay.
I was doing strictly cardio and I wouldn't go in the weight room. I was very scared of the weight room. It was how do you say it? It was just traumatic for me to go in there just because I didn't know what I was doing. So I was just strictly cardio. And then in February, I was like, you know what? This is ridiculous. I just got to get in there. So
sure. All those scary monsters out, I promise you they won't bite you.
No, they won't. There's nothing to be afraid of in there.
No, it's funny because, a lot of people do start off with just cardio. And when I do consults with people over the phone or over Zoom, they're telling me about what they're doing for their workouts, and it's 90% cardio because that's what's comfortable, that's what's easy. You get on a treadmill, you hit the start button, and you just move. Or you get on the elliptical and you just pound it away for 30 minutes and then you're out the door.
Definitely.
It's totally different when you have to actually use proper body mechanics to manipulate dumbbells, or a barbell, or cables. It's especially if you're not coordinated. So some people feel like they're not coordinated, so they're like, I can't work out because I'm not coordinated enough.
I can relate to that.
I'm okay in the coordination department, but it's all a trained skill and ability. It's all something you have to expose yourself to. Your nervous system has to be exposed to the movements, the motions, and that's what over time, training your body is the only thing that'll set you up for proper mechanics. So walk us through your workouts. Like, give us an idea of. I want to know. Like, I'm listening right now, and I want to know Shrinking Shantel's regimen. I want to know what she's doing when she gets in the gym.
So 2 days a week, I actually do Les Mills Body Pump, which is a class that I take at the gym. It's a little bit of cardio, a lot of weightlifting, and it's light weights, lots of reps. So I do that 2 times a week. And then for the rest of the week, I really focus on muscle groups and do a little bit of high intensity interval training.
Okay. High intensity interval training.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a good one. You really studied on that one. So high intensity interval training, what does that typically look like in terms of your workout, the high intensity interval training?
So it's short little bits of, bringing your heart rate up. I use kettlebells. I do a lot of running during that time.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So that high intensity intervals are like the best way to burn a tremendous amount of calories in a shorter period of time.
Yes.
And it's this thing called excess post oxygen consumption, EPOC. Look it up, y'all. And it's where your body actually is thermogenic several hours after you finish your workout.
Yeah.
So the reason why Chantel's probably shrinking is because she's got a lot of EPOC.
Yeah, and I do that every time I go to the gym, besides the days that I do Les Mills body pump. So whenever I'm working out a muscle group, I'm always getting in that
That
hit.
high intensity intervals.
Yep.
Okay. So like doing a bench press, then you go to a sprint or to a run,
Yes.
then do
Yep.
pull ups,
Exactly.
and then you go to kettlebells.
Yep.
Like in between every exercise, you have that high intensity blast, right?
Yep. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Cool, cool. So yeah, just so the people at home know, high intensity intervals, if you are trying to preserve as much lean muscle tissue and actually become or create a thermogenic environment for your body even hours after you work out, like high intensity intervals are the way. I'm a big proponent because I'm a fat loss coach. Like that's what I do. I coach people on how to lose fat. Now, for those that are, you know, if you're an endurance athlete and you want to train for endurance, then high intensity intervals might not be the thing you want to invest solely into. All right, that's mainly for people that are looking to maximize fat loss within a short period of time. So
Yeah.
cool, that's awesome. So as far as like what you're doing along with your workouts, is there any supplementation going on? Like, you doing protein, vitamins, or any vitamins that you recommend, or supplements, or protein powders, or anything like that?
Yeah. So I'm actually, after my workout, I do a lean body protein shake.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
and that's just because when your muscles need it the most is right
Sure.
after workout. And then I actually just started taking BCAAs, so to help my muscles recover a little bit better after my workouts. And then I
Awesome.
do pre-workout, but that's about all I do.
Okay. Pre-workout. So
Yes.
what are you doing for pre-workout?
So I do the lit. Um,
That's a
and
newer
it's the
one that just came out, right?
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I do.
That's
So
awesome. I try to do a pre-workout every now and then when I'm feeling a little low. If I'm feeling a little low before I get into the workout and I really want to max it out. But fair warning for anybody that's doing a pre-workout, I do recommend that you check with your physician because
yeah.
there's a big warning label on it if you have any heart issues or family history or anything like that. But it can be a good little pet. I would say start off with the smallest dosage that you can, because
Definitely.
everybody's body is different in how your body absorbs or takes in nutrients. So definitely, yeah, word of caution, but they can be good when used properly.
I agree 100%.
Like I've seen guys use 2 or 3 scoops, and I'm like, I don't think that's good.
Yeah,
What are
I
they
do like
smoking?
half a scoop just to get me a little pep in my step.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and kind of land this plane really quick. But
Okay.
one major question I wanted to ask before we uh, end this episode is, looking back on kind of your whole entire journey, knowing what you know now, what would Shantel pronounce your last name for us, Shantel?
It's Keola.
Keola. Uh, You're the first Keola I've ever met. Are they all in Idaho? Is that what
No,
that
so they're actually in New Jersey.
Okay. Keola's
Yeah.
in New Jersey. So
In
shout
New
out to
Jersey.
all the Keolas in New Jersey. Um, but back to my question. So knowing what you know now, what would you tell the Chantel back in the day when you first started on your journey in terms of your health and fitness journey, your weight loss journey? So what would
That
Chantel, knowing what you know now, tell Chantel back then?
I would tell myself that it's all going to work out in the end, and just to keep believing in yourself, because I think that has been the hardest struggle for me is, having that self-confidence to get out there and do it. And so I would just tell myself to keep believing in myself and to push myself every day and to not give up.
Totally. Absolutely. I love it. To not give up. Believe in yourself,
Yes.
because you can do it. My coach always says you can do more than what you think you can do. So get out there
Yeah,
and
that's
get.
exactly right. For sure.
All right, Chantel. Before we get off, I wanted to just let everybody know, because we might have people that may want to get in contact with you or may want to ask you questions about what VSG is or high intensity intervals or even more about like how you are helping people in the VSG community. You said, right?
Yeah.
And making that transition. And not only that, maybe they want to know more about you and your workouts and your nutrition and everything. So how
Yeah.
would they be able to reach you, or what social media outlets are you on the most?
So you can find me on Instagram. My name is shrinking_Shantel, and that's SHANTEL.
All right, so that's where you're the most active, guys.
Yes.
Find her on Instagram. I'm scrolling through her content, a lot of funny stuff, a lot of funny little memes and pictures and things. So, I enjoy it as much as like in the next person, but also the before and after pictures, the message that goes along with it. That a lot of that's powerful, and even talking to you today, I really appreciate your time, your message, and just being vulnerable and sharing, because this is an opportunity for someone else to kind of peek into your life for a second.
Yeah. I'm so thankful to have you to have you let me be on this show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, if you guys want to reach out to her, shrinking_Shantel, right?
Yes.
Instagram. Cool. And everybody, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Transformation Motivation Podcast. This is Fit Emmett. You guys have a happy, fun, and healthy day.